Not good for me. Doesn't bode well for the start of a budget discussion. Good morning, everyone. This is the beginning of a board workshop, which is slightly different than your typical monthly board meetings. However, it follows many of the same rules. There are a few exceptions to that. The meeting is being taped for Zoom so that when Dwayne comes in this afternoon, he'll be able to put that on the website. You can see the last, I think, half a dozen board meetings there, as well as you'll be able to see this one, or anyone else who's a member of the community can go to the website and can review that from home and at their leisure. So there's it will have an impact on things like minutes for the meetings because according to the experts, we now have an actual verbatim recording of everything that will have been said. So there isn't a need for the onerous 15-page, 30-minute recitations of minutes every meeting, and this will be no exception. The other thing with a workshop is that we will not be making any decisions. There'll be no motions made today. There'll be no votes by the board today. This is a working session to allow the board to have a conversation at the first glimpse of what the budget committee is recommending for the 2022 budget year. And as such, it will be a discussion between the board members only. There will not be an opportunity for folks in the audience to participate in the conversation. Those opportunities will be had at the next two board meetings prior to the acceptance or not of the annual budget in December. So you'll have your opportunities to voice concerns and questions, but that will happen at a later date. And of course, you can always see your board members and give them voice your concerns on a one-off or, in a discussion as you see fit via phone, in person, etc. The last thing is the board members, to the board members, you've been given, hi Barb, you've been given a list of a number of documents here. The document that we will be focusing on today is this particular document. Looks like this. And the reason we'll be focusing on that is going to give some structure so that when you look at the budget numbers, you have an understanding of what was discussed, what was included, what the thought process was for putting these numbers together. So you'll have all of that stuff. Barb, you got it. Welcome home. Glad to see you. Oh, yeah. I bet you'll celebrate New Year's Eve at 10:30 too. Okay, so I do ask that the board members not make copies of these numbers. These are not board sanctioned numbers. These are the recommendations of the voluntary budget committee. And as such, they are not for distribution. They are for you to take a look at. Every board member has spent time, those who have budget responsibility has spent time with the budget committee, making their desires and needs of their departments known. The budget committee took that and rolled that into their thinking, as you'll see, and then came up with this budget. This is the first time the vast majority of the board has seen these numbers. So several people from the board are on the budget committee, so they helped create it. But, and as the president, I worked with them post that. No numbers were changed from what the budget committee submitted by me. They got me up to speed for this meeting. Any questions from the board on that? So we're going to review this. If you have any questions or discussions about this, that we're ready to go with having a conversation. There will be no motions. There will be no decisions. This is an informational workshop only. And the rest of the documents, they're far too important and far too detailed for you to be ready to ask questions right now in all likelihood. One other thing I'll say is as you leave this meeting, board members, any questions about line items or decisions or whatever in your departments or in general should be directed in writing via email to Janine, who will put them together, make sure that we capture those so we can discuss them, or if there's additional information that a board member needs, like what's behind a line item in 2021 that made it grow or something like that, send it to Janine. She will get that. I don't want Terry Marie drowning in requests for all kinds of details in a less than organized fashion. You'll get all the details you want and all the information you want. We just want to funnel it so that we don't croak the office. Okay? All right. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Janine, the treasurer, and Barbara, our strategic director.
Okay, good morning. First, I'd like to thank the budget committee members. We had 7 members on the committee this year, and they were Bill Calnan, Jerry Gigliotti, Pat Lynch, Barbara Santina Rizzo, and Barbara Kowalski and myself. Is that 7? All right, so the presentation today, as Lynn stated, is a recommendation by that budget committee, and it will be going under review or consideration by the board. So we started to look first at what's changed in the community, and we see an aging infrastructure. Everybody sees things that are falling apart that need repairs. And also we were affected by city regulations again this year, where one of them is the backflow devices testing and replacements that Dave worked on. And that is moving the meter closer, changing the device closer to the meter. But that's close enough.
Yeah, it was supposed to be that, but it was just testing this year. So.
Okay. So we've put a line item, the new line item for that this coming year. Also, we've had some changes or changing with the air conditioning units. One of them, as you know, on the north side has been replaced early this year. So we have, that's another item, that just an example of some of the things that are aging. And also the pool systems. We've had a lot of repairs on the pool, whether it be the compressor or heaters. So these are things that we have to keep looking at to make sure we have enough money to maintain them in the future, if not replace them. Then we also have roads and roofs. And although I think the roads look okay right now, I mean, they are deteriorating, as all roads do. And whether we start looking at that by piecemeal, rather than wait for the whole area to need an improvement. We thought about that, and also the roofs. We also have a serious condition with the dock needing replacement. That is definitely unsafe. It's a hazard, and I think we have to replace that, or we at the committee, I should say, would like to look at replacing the dock, whether it's in total or repair it to the best of our ability. And then the pool pump housing, the building itself has termites, and it looks terrible. So another area of improvement being needed. And then again, the maintenance shack, we considered that as well, where we now have 2 golf carts. So we were looking at housing the 2 golf carts, plus keeping anything else safe in the building and locked up. You know, we've had that break-in. So we want to make sure we have a safe place to put everything. Irrigation has always been a problem here. I mean, it's ancient, and we need some repairs. We have working on them this year, and we put money in the budget in the past. So we're seriously need to do something about the irrigation system. And then the last thing we have on the list is pest control. We want to make what we do improve on the turf. We want to make sure it continues, that we have a nice green lawn for everyone. And that also we don't have any animals or iguanas in this situation. We are attempting, as you know, to eliminate a few iguanas at a time. Any questions so far, Barbara? Anything to add? All right, and then we looked at inflation and cost of services. As you notice in your own homes, there's utilities going up, your cable is going up, your internet, and any work that you need to have done on your property. The tradespeople are not necessarily available, and the prices are high because they can get the work, and also the materials that they're using, all materials, no matter what we've talked about. It seems like they're not coming through from China quick enough. It's not available. The prices are high. So all these things consider into the budget. Some expectations we've had, and in the past, we've had some community involvement. We've had people painting roads and walls and doing all kinds of work. The men's club has performed a lot of work, and the women's club as well. But we've had reduced volunteerism in the last couple of years, not only because of COVID and people not being here, but the participation has been lower than we would like to see or need. So we have we want to improve the community appearance and activities. People are asking for more things to do, more social events, more just being together. In the insurance, this is number one. For 4 years of double-digit increases, we've gone up from 2019 to 22. We went from 122,000 to 230,000. And the prediction we're told from the insurance agents is that it could be another 30% increase this coming year. We've counted in the past 20 and 25. In fact, this year we have a 20% increase. So, I don't know where that's going to end, but we've got to try to catch up on the insurance and not be behind every year, because you save the money previously and we pay it all in February. So we're saving this year and we're going to make a payment in February. And we don't know what that is until a couple of weeks before. So it's very difficult to estimate insurance. The only thing we can say is it's higher. It's definitely going higher.
Hello. What we've been doing is asking different, trying to get different insurance companies to come in to see how, if it is 30%, even if it isn't 30%, how we can lower this number by little things like changing a deductible that maybe is too high or whatever, little things like that, just to bring it down. So, I thought, okay. We're interviewing insurance agents or whatever to find out how we can lower the price, even if it's the price that's in there and not a higher price. And we still are interviewing more agents. So we're trying to take care of that before we get hit with anything, any big number. So just so you know where we are.
Just to that too, I'm going to add to that just simply that these numbers in insurance are non-negotiable. And this isn't one where you go, well, can we up our deduction from 5% to 10%? Can we get catastrophic? Can we self-insure? We have beaten that bush for, the 3 years that I've been involved and for years before that. And there's fewer insurers in the state of Florida. I don't know if anybody's tried to get new homeowners insurance, but hard to find somebody who'll cover you, and the prices have quadrupled. And they don't want to write, particularly after Surfside, they don't want to write insurance for condos anymore. So there's very few people that are lending money for any kind of insurance these days. And so we're trying hard, but there's not a lot of movement that can be had in that.
Okay, so we also looked at the goals of the budget committee. We looked for any line item shortages in the 2021 budget. This year's budget, was there anywhere that we fell short? We wanted to fully fund the insurance in the 2022 budget. And also, if you remove money from any of those reserves, you have to replace the money. So we had taken some money out, and we had to take that into consideration and make sure that everything is being 100% fully funded. And one of the big items too, we were
money to the reserves, isn't that automatically refunded when you compute the amount of money that it's going to cost to replace it? That automatically comes into the computation. When you compute your reserve needs, it says you have to look and research. Okay, it says to do all your roofs, it's $100,000, and if you've borrowed already 20,000 out of there, you're still looking for $100,000. So that $20,000 is an automatic computation.
Not an automatic computation. You have to recompute it.
Well,
but-
automatic
But
because
that's
you're
what it means.
computing.
That's what it.
Automatic because you're computing it. Okay, you have to compute it.
Richard,
That's automatic.
this is me. So I can tell you that that's what you have to do by law.
Right.
By
That's,
law.
that's what I'm
And
saying.
that's what it means to fully fund the reserves by replacing
That's
the
right.
dollars used
That-
in 20 and 21 budget.
And that you have no control over. That's
You have
saying
no
that's what
control.
I'm
It's
saying.
law.
That comes
It's law.
automatically.
It's the law for the. It's yes,
The same thing.
but it's law to you have to do it for the mandatory 4. I'm telling them to the mandatory 4 reserves,
Right.
which is roofs, roads, painting, and pool.
Right. I'm not questioning
Just so
that.
they know.
I'm just
No,
saying
no,
that,
no.
that when you
Trying to explain
compute
it
it,
to other people too.
when you compute it, whatever has been taken out will automatically be computed again in there, so it's going to come. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just want to feed this back to you to make sure we're on the same page. I think I got what you're saying. If there was $100,000 is fully funded for roofs, which we know that's not true, but just for chuckles, we use that number, and we have a problem in one of the buildings, and it costs us $20,000. We still have to compute for $100,000 to replace all the roofs. We don't now go to $80,000 because we spent 20 and fixed a roof. We still have to aim for that fully funded 100% replacement number. That's correct. That's correct. Which it drives me crazy. No, but he's saying that's what he's saying. Yeah, yeah. We have no choice in that. Right, 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 right. It's what drives me crazy about things like the pool, because the likelihood that we are going to ever have to completely replace the pool, like dig it up, replace the whole thing, is slim and none. But you still have to replace for as though there was a sinkhole that swallowed up the pool, and you have to start from scratch and dig a new hole and the whole thing. And the cost of that is significant. But that's just the way the law is written, and it requires that you fund for that. And so that's what we're doing by law. We have to do it.
On every reserve. If there's a sinkhole in the road, okay, it's not full recovery. It's to repair, and you're only working on the age of the existence of whatever it is. And in the pool, you're working on the diamond bright. On the road, you're working on the cracks and all that. On the roof, you're working on just your shingles on the roof.
Yes, because
So,
you can take money out of the
yeah,
reserves
But it's not a
for
replacement of the
one-off
building.
major repairs,
Yeah.
but you still have to fund as though you're replacing the 100% of the thing. Not for
No,
not for
not
small-
for regular
for like a
maintenance, no.
diamond bright. If we were just doing diamond bright, we have enough money, probably or close to it, in there already in the pool budget to take care of the pool reserve to do diamond bright. But we can't use that as our 100% number. We have to use the full cost of replacing the entire pool. We're all on the same page. Everybody okay with that on the board?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay, returning to the goals of the budget committee. Another goal was to, for no assessments to be made. And we recommend the improvement projects. We've, as a budget committee, we looked at improvement projects we like to see for 2022 and beyond, because the list got quite long. There's 24 items considered on it.
At the list for the first time. I haven't seen it before today, and I appreciate it. It's very good. Just a note, there's a number of things on here that are not what was the intention of this particular list when we started it a few years ago. We were looking for major capital expenditures, like replacing the dock or one-time kinds of things. There's a lot of stuff in everything in here is valuable and appropriate. So I'm not saying that. It's just some of these, like I need to take some stuff out and talk with Tim and Patrick and say, these should be part of the everyday operating process. They don't require us to go hire a contractor to come in and do it. It just means our guys have to put this, on the table, get it scheduled and get it done, like fascia boards or something else. So as a committee, that's something that we'll have to do is go through and say, which of these is outside of daily operating requirements and which of these are inside it, split the list and then go at it from there. Okay.
All right, and some major recommended line increases that we noticed or looked at is definitely insurance, as I talked about earlier. And that increase was $60,000. Then the utilities and the cable internet, $20,600. Priority projects, we have put aside some money for priority projects to the amount of $12,000. I don't know how far that will go with the list, but it's there. And I told you earlier, we also added a line item for backflow test and repair. That is actually $8,000 estimated for next year. Last year we didn't have any money in bad debt. It was told to us that from the attorneys that we should have some money in bad debt. And that is the maintenance fee for one unit for the year, which is $4,800. So that was an increase that wasn't there last year. Clubhouse improvements or clubhouse, improvements activities is $3,475. Some of the clubhouse was also, and I think it's included in this, you can correct me, Barbara, was the sanitizer and the spray and all the things that we were required to because of COVID we encountered. Bathroom cleaning on a regular basis. Was an echo. And there was a slight increase in the roofs of $2,250.
Jenny, just a question on the utilities. How are they going up that much?
Some of
Because
them are. I noticed water,
because
for
cable-
instance, was. Oh, go ahead.
Because the cable is only going up 3%. The cable and the internet. So I don't know. What have we found out about utilities? Are they going up 7, 8, 10%? I don't know.
That's why I'm gonna get lapels.
Those things around the neck. We based it on, we started to base it on 6%. We got it down to 3%, and that includes all the utilities and cable. Now, I don't know, Richard. They don't, there again, nobody tells you what it's going to be. We've called and they don't tell you. But I believe that 3% is not going to be enough, but because the water in Delray is bad and you know how the town is doing all that. So somewhere they're going to want to get their money, but hopefully it's not this year because this is not a good year for us to give it money.
Yeah, the only thing we know for sure is cable and internet is 3%. That we know.
That's the only thing we know.
Some major recommended decreases. In the expected income, we've reduced some of the expectations there by 4,475. And I think it's with some fees that were being charged, I can think of especially for documents and requests that people have. And what do you call it? Right, and the
Yeah,
credit
we have-
reports for people applying for residence.
We have like no units for sale, correct, Barbara? We have no units for sale. And last year we sold a whole bunch. And that created a nice, more than expected income stream. It's not much, but it was a few $1,000s when people were doing applications and estoppels and clearing up some stuff and all of that stuff. So, if 10 people decide to sell their units this year, that number could surprise us and that would be a happy thing. But right now, with nothing to sell, the income part, we really have to go really conservative on. We can't count on money that may not come in. So
Part of that, I just lost it, but part of it was the interest income. We had overinflated the interest income and it went down. So it went down. That's most of that right there.
All right, another area was, let's see, where am I? Professional fees. That is with the attorneys, the lawyers, and that's $4,000 less. But what else was in it? Okay, the engineering study, it was done in 2019. You have to do that every 3 years. So that has been eliminated. We can wait a year. All right, and also decrease in building parts and tools. It was a little underspent this year, so we found that we could reduce that by $2,900. Doors, based on the number of doors we have, and an RF, we did have a request for a proposal go out on the doors, and there was some savings. We got a new person coming in this year, so we reduced the doors item to by $3,000. And sprinkler reserve, because of mostly because of the insurance being so high, we're looking for money to reduce that. And one of them was the sprinkler reserve, unfortunately. We were putting $15,000 in the sprinkler reserve. We don't recommend that we do that this year. All set so far. All right. One of the areas that we could look at is primary landscaping and grounds that account. In 2021, lawn maintenance cost was $60,000. That was Big Al. That's basically the shrub trimming. That's all he did. And then we had the cost for the entrance maintenance. We wanted to preserve it. Now that we had a good front entrance, everybody's proud of it. We wanted to make sure it was watered and maintained. There was a $4,800 monthly fee that we had Delray Gardens come in and, sorry, misstep. Whoa. Good job. Knock it off.
No.
And then we have fertilizer and pest control. That was $15,500. Tree trimming and removal, $20,000. That's the larger trees. That was Zimmerman. And then last year we also paid for a golf cart, $8,000. So this year that's reduced because we have the golf cart now. We just have to keep it in great shape. So we've got less money to maintain the golf cart. So that total is $108,300. That was the 2021. Where we are so far with 2022 is we actually have dropped down on the cost to $106,000 with basically a request for proposal that went out for landscaping costs where everything was included in it, everything. So that the lawn, if you take all those things that went with the lawn maintenance before, now the lawn maintenance with one contract is $100,000. The entrance that will be covered by the lawn maintenance, so that's a zero cost.
But can I get a question on that? If I look Hello, hello? Okay, if I do the math on that, if I take the golf cart away, it still looks like there's an increase of $5,000. Okay, it's not a decrease.
And I went to the budget committee, I requested a 5% increase to cover the cost of that. I don't have an exact cost yet because we had 7 or 8 responses to the RFP. I have identified a finalist that I'm calling references on, and I need to present that to the board for the board's approval. But between that finalist and 3 of the others, that's within the ball game. I believe I can get to. Nobody's coming in at that, but I'm negotiating with that, and so that's my goal, is to be at that number or under, and then it's a one-man band. In fact, we've been waiting since the middle of September for Zimmerman to come and do the olive trees. We approved the money. The money was in the budget. It's there. It's been sitting there. They gave us an invoice. We approved it. They have scheduled it several times. The last time they promised they were coming out between October 18th and 22nd. We've had until yesterday, no phone calls, no emails, no anything from them. So I talked to the guy who has the company we're very interested in and asked him if his company could give us a price on doing the same thing. And he came out this week and he gave us a price that's $600 cheaper than Zimmerman. And not only is he going to do the olive trees, but he's going to do some work on some of the Royal Ponciana, especially the ones close to the houses. And they're just going to look. And if some of the bigger trees that have already been done once this year need to be done a little bit more, he's going to take care of that too. And he should be here. His guys are coming, his lawn tree guys are coming today to just review it, and they're supposed to be doing the work tomorrow.
Okay, on that note, there's a couple of dead trees too around that they would have to remove too.
In the ride arounds that we did with each of the folks, that it includes removal of dead trees. We still have some money in the budget, these are just the big ticket items. We still have some money in there for removal of and replacement of trees in that case.
So, is it working? Can you hear me? So for 2022, the tree trimming is 0 because the work they're doing tomorrow is coming out of this year's. Includes, okay. Okay. Okay.
And these numbers are still being negotiated. We don't have a contract yet. So when I say these numbers, it's not exact. It's a best guess. And so I guess that is that page. Anything more? No? Okay, we want to establish a requirement for full funding for the reserves, except for the irrigation. I think so.
I think this is where we already discussed it. What we did was you have to redo the computation every year. Well, every time you take money out, not every year. Yes, not every year. Oh, you're shaking your head no. Oh, okay. Well, no. So it's all redone. And this is the number. I mean, you can see that on the irrigation line, everything was fully funded now for the paint, the roof, let's see, the paint, the roads, the pool, and the roof. We took the irrigation out. We had done 15,000 last year. We decided that we would love to do it, but we needed the money elsewhere. So, and this is what it turned out to be, period. Well, we have the interest from reserves. We did it. It used to be done where the interest would go into one of those 4 accounts from the money markets. Each one would get their own interest. But I was discussing it with the accountant a couple of years ago, and I asked him if we could just put the interest in a reserve account. He said yes, because then you could use if you needed it, you could use those reserves for any of those 4 repairs or whatever, any of the other 4 reserves. So we have almost $26,000 in that. It doesn't increase a whole lot anymore because their interest rate is so low. So, what we did was the annual funding for for 2022 went up in the interest in the reserves for $130,077, which was for the painting of the roofs and all the stuff that we used in the last 2 years.
I just think we as board members have to remember that, our first and foremost job is to maintain the financial stability of the community. There are a million communities out there in Florida that don't fully fund. And if something happens, it's a major disaster for them and for the people who live in the community. And so while you can push on these numbers and the years and the estimates and all that stuff a little bit, it's important that we not really that not be a priority or a focus for us, trying to squeeze the reserve so we put less money in, because if something goes wrong, and something always does, it would be disastrous not to have taken this approach that the budget committee is recommending, and that is to make sure those numbers are accurate. We put the money in. I hate to see the money not in there for irrigation. We've had so many conversations about it. We're finally starting to see a little bit of light. And, if one of these lawn companies that we're talking to is selected, we're going to have a much closer and more knowledgeable eyes on our lawns and the maintenance with the folks that work with these people. The day of the Walking Dead will be in the rearview mirror. And so we will have people who actually care and know about and get paid for looking at the grass when they're cutting it, looking at the bushes while they're going through doing the lawns, and reporting back to the on-site supervisor to tell them, hey, there's a problem with a tree over here that looks like there's white fly over here, something like that. So not having that irrigation money in there is a sad thing, but if it's what we got to do, it's the only one of the reserves that's not a law required reserve. That's the only one. The rest of them are required by law of us.
All right, so the proposed 2022 budget contains a 20% increase in insurance, which is 6% of the budget. The budget of 10% overall. So the remaining 4% increase is the combination of all the other budget line items. There are no assessments being charged. No assessments. in this budget. And we'll be fully funded insurance with a 20% increase in 2022. However, that increase could be 30%. Did I say that right, Barbara? Okay. We have fully funded reserves. It does not include a recommendation. Oh, it does. I'm sorry. It does include a recommendation of an additional 1% to be used for improvement projects. Yep. That would be, or it could be anything, but the recommended is the list of the 24 that we talked about, minus the ones Lynn removed or will remove. So the 1% for improvement projects. It does not include any of the 24 recommended. At this time, they're not identified in the budget with line items. Right.
Percent. Yeah, yeah. Does
Four,
include
which
a
is 10,
recommendation.
and that should be 6 and 5, which is 11.
Well,
No,
If
because
we
the
put the
1% is down below.
Right.
Well,
If
I
you
didn't
take the
put-
1% out, then it goes back to 10.
Right.
Got you.
And the dollars for the 1% show on this spreadsheet that we proposed. On the very end, there's a line item for it on the last page.
Okay. So that's included in the budget recommendations already.
Yes.
All right. Got it.
Barbara, do you want to speak to this next one?
Okay, and in the year 2017, you'll see a change of 12 cents and 31 cents, a minus 31 cents. And that was before that date, we used to not round to the nearest dollar. So it would, if you got your maintenance fee, it would be $150.73. So that year, basically, all we did was change the rounding figures. So it was basically a zero increase budget for that in 17. So in 18 is when we went up up a lot because we got Blue Stream and we got I don't remember what else it was. I mean, I can remember a lot of stuff, but I can't remember everything. So that's where we went up. Now in 19, 20, and 21, we went to the zero. And my personal opinion on the zero was we were very neglectful in thinking of the future and keeping up with the problems that we had. And so therefore we have failed a lot. And that's why our list is 24. We didn't keep up with a lot of that stuff. So on the next page, this is what we're recommending for the budget. The 1,231,637, which includes the 1%, which includes the 1%. Okay, for the projects. A 1-bedroom would go up to 386, and a 1-bedroom would go up to 442. I mean, 2-bedroom would go up to 442. Now, let me just say this. 386 and 442. Yes, I did it, but you want me to look? 36 and the 30. Okay, we're rounding. I have this is rounded. So okay. Now, the other organizations, some we don't. I got found out from 3 or 4 that they are going up, where we are going up the. What did we say? It's how much? 45. They're still in the high 30s. I mean, they're still doing like 38 plus, and they didn't go through the 0. So I didn't feel that basically. Okay.
Lower.
I'd like to say it's lower, but ours is higher. Ours is higher, but, and it's very hurtful, but it's because we kept it at 0 for those so long. The other sections are like in the high 30s, 38, all around 38, 39, whatever. And more units to display that when they see the more units you have, the lower your rate, so they always say, oh, you have the highest rate. Well, yeah, well, we've got the least units. They've all raised them every year. We did not. So basically, I think we did pretty good because we're only like $4 or $5 higher than them. And we had lots of zeros where we didn't increase. I don't know. Did I say it better this time?
Yes, you did. You
Okay.
did a good job. But one question, one thing to remember is that we are the only unit that has we have yeah, we have fully funded reserves because they have assessments a lot, and we also have city water for sprinklers. They don't, and that cost us
More money.
a lot more money for that. Sprinklers, and then we do have Wi-Fi, which they don't.
Just here. All right, so this is the end of the presentation to the board. Any questions from the board members?
Not for me.
Geez, Bill.
I will get
Didn't slow
lapels.
you down at all. Thank you for reminding me. At least he does it with a chuckle. So what's the plan for what is the board members now have all this documentation to go and look at? And they're going to ask any questions that they have, any backup data that they need for looking at line items. They're going to go through Janine in writing so that she can keep the flow steady on what Terry Marie is running around trying to get done. And department directors who own department numbers need to, go back and look at what you submitted, what's been recommended by the budget committee, determine whether those things are in agreement with you and where you're going, and look for any nook and cranny where you can find some money to squeeze. And then what? We have a board meeting next week, right?
Right.
Is that 2 weeks? 2 weeks.
2 weeks from
On the
today.
18th. So no, because we won't have,
Well,
so here's what has to happen. And my experience in the last couple of years of doing this as treasurer and president is between now and the 18th, we need to get any questions, information, requests, all that stuff needs to be gotten from everybody. And then before the December meeting, which is when we have the full meeting and we have the vote on the final budget. After you get your questions answered, you need to submit to Janine for your departments what you think the numbers should be, where they should be changed from the budget sheets. And then she and Barbara and I are gonna squish those together. We may have to pull another one of these calls, groups together in the meantime, but by, when did we say it's gotta be out by? The final budget's
Yeah,
gotta be
you
out
need
by?
14 days before the December meeting.
right.
People have to have it, the
Right,
budget in their hands.
But, so, well, what is the date? Do we know the date of the December meeting?
December meeting is the 18th, is it? Or that?
I think it got pulled in. I think it's the 12th. So, yeah, I think it's the 12th.
November, December, you have the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th.
It's the 16th.
The 16th.
So by the 2nd of December, that's envelopes have to be stuffed and final decisions have to be in. So that's right. That's right. That's right. They have to be postmarked. And if we can get them out earlier than that, it all depends on the board's ability to get their feedback into Janine with your final recommendations. And then what will happen is we'll crunch those numbers together. We will get a copy of that to all of you for one last moment or two of reflection on what was built into the budget, meaning the board members. And then by the 1st of December, that stuff has to be ready to go out to the
What's the date to
community.
get the questions to me? Is there a final date for that?
I would suggest the sooner
The
the
end
better.
of
That's what I was
November or-
asking you. I would say,
Before
sooner.
Thanksgiving?
how about before the meeting on the 18th?
Yeah.
You should have it, because I believe on the meeting of the 18th, there has to be a motion to extend the budget out.
I don't recall there ever being a motion, but we'll look that up. I don't recall there being a motion. It was just, I remember the November meeting was when everybody got these sheets for the first time. And they got it in there, the board got this in their hands on the 18th. And then treasurer and president took the feedback from the board members, went out, pulled the final numbers together and sent the final budget out to the board members. And then like started to print them up and get them ready to send out to the rest of the community. And then you're right. But the final proposal. No. He was saying, Richard thought we had to vote to send it out, not to vote on the budget.
No, you don't vote on the budget. You don't vote on the budget until December. But I think the board has to authorize it to be sent out.
Yeah, we'll check that. We'll check it. We'll do whatever we need to do at the meeting. But can we please, all of us, try very hard to do it in the next week would be great, because then there needs to be time for us to sit down and put all your inputs in and see what it does to the numbers. And you do the what if game. What if we took this out? What if we put this in? What would that do? How would that impact? Where would it change the bottom lines and all of that stuff? So the faster you can get at it while it's fresh in your head and get those, any requests or any, your final sort of, final's wrong word, your next iteration of what you think the budget should be. And all of us, remember, Dave, you may own the building's responsibility. I may own grounds, Barbara may own real estate, et cetera, but everyone's a director of the overall budget. So don't just look at your responsibility, look at the entirety of the budget to make sure that we are, because we're all held responsible for the whole thing, not just for the little piece of the paper that we're the director of, okay?
Applause. Okay, I was just looking at the calendar real quick, and no, the 12th is on next Friday. You want to make a deadline for that? 12th of November, for it to make a deadline for everybody to look over the budget. Right, next Friday. Okay, the 12th. Right, right. Okay.
Okay, so by the 12th, get your next set of feedback into Janine, who can put it all together, and then she and Barbara and I will sit down and take a look at it. You know, I think this is great information. It's not a pretty picture. It's not a pretty picture. But I think this particular package in particular has a lot of information that helps us explain it to the people who are just going to hear this out at the pool, or they're going to see it on a Zoom taping. There's a lot of information in this document that we can help share where the numbers are coming from. Nobody's jumping up and down and saying, yippee, let's have a nice big fat increase. And when you look at where the money's going to, it's not like we're, throwing it away on nothing. There's stuff that didn't make it in here. Hold on. So just use this, familiarize yourself, board members, with the information that's on here, and don't hesitate to just take questions, concerns, whatever the people in the community say and offer to you, and let's bring that information and share that feedback back with the board as well. Oh, we did not. We did not. It's important. That's another piece of data. So that 1% for the project list, what happens with those project lists is the budget committee spends a lot of time working on them, prioritizing them, discussing them, determining which ones are the ones that need to be gotten at first, which ones can go for longer. And then they come in, that list comes into us and we say, yeah, great, that's a great list. And sometimes that's the end of it. And this year was one of those. When you look at it, there wasn't any extra money lying around. We think we might be able to squeeze a couple of things in the end of this year in order to like do a repair on the dock. I'm not sure if we are. We're going to have to watch the numbers come through. But there was no money to say, great, let's now go do these things and like chalk that one off, chalk that one off. I know Richard, was here last month on the fence, and, that fence is always on the priority list, but there's no money to do it. So, there's 24 of those exact same things there. So the 1% is an attempt to put aside 1% of the budget, which is $1,200 a month, to actually have money to do a couple of those bigger projects. And it is the equivalent of $4 a month per unit to fund that 1% line item. So just food for thought. Any other questions, comments by the board? Any issues you need? We have the 12th is when you get your next round of budget inputs in. And then you guys, Janine and Barbara and I will be ready to do some kind of a feedback on the 18th at the board meeting on the 18th. And then I guess you guys are going to have to pick a date then for the final inputs based on what happens at that meeting, and then get it out to the community probably the week of Thanksgiving.
That's what we have to remember. Thanksgiving's in the middle. People will be going visiting.
And get your deposit, make sure people get it in hand too. So, all right, we're going to. I guess I said we weren't going to have any motion, so I'm not going to have a motion. There is no motion to adjourn. This is not a board meeting. We're just going to go our own separate ways. Okay, thanks everybody.
We're done in under an hour.